Yo, what's going on, guys? Seth Spartan here, and this is day number 7. This is Training Unleashed. Guys, this is the real 10% body fat series. We've already hammered through nutrition, everything nutrition. So day number 7, this is Training Unleashed, talking about and giving you guys everything, training, all for free, everything, all of my knowledge. And we'll probably have to make a few videos on this and also some videos at the gym to basically completely give you guys everything that you need to know, how to replicate this, and just to give an in-depth explanation. So without any further ado, guys, this is day number 7. If I can hold up 7 figures, this is day number 7 of the real 10% body fat series and everything that we're going to be doing for training, at least the overview. We'll get into the specifics when we are at the gym and in more videos. Here we go, guys. So, Training Unleashed, we've got a bunch of things to hammer through, a bunch of conditions or rules or even guidelines, if you want to call it that, to basically hammer through so you guys get an idea of how my ultimate training is going to work, my Unleashed training. So this is all the same stuff that I do myself, that I have been doing myself. This is not something that I've cooked up or formulated specifically for this series. This is stuff that is proven, tested, works, not just on myself, but on many clients and people that I've trained over the years when I used to have a personal training business, and also things that are medically, from a medical and scientific standpoint, medically sound. So without any further ado, guys, let's talk about how to get the perfect physique, how to basically get the perfect human physique and maximize your body in terms of maximum muscle mass, maximum performance, and maximum fat loss. You guys ready? Let's go. This is Training Unleashed. Number 1, compound emphasis. Cannot say this enough. Number 1 is compound emphasis. There's going to be the greatest emphasis, the greatest focusing in on compound exercises versus isolation. Yes, absolutely. There is a time and a place for isolation, especially when we're talking about working smaller body parts, biceps, triceps, calves, such and so forth, or if you want to call them ends, all right? Absolutely, there's a place for that. But your gains, most of your bulk, if we're talking about muscle mass, performance, strength, and also fat loss, compounds all day, every day. So when I see people doing, for example, tons and tons of chest flies or tons and tons of leg extensions, guys, that's not going to give us obtaining the perfect human physique we're looking for, maximizing the human body. That's not what we're going to get as a result of that. So number 1, guys, is none other than an absolute first place focus on compound. So compound emphasis is number 1. Number 2, this is my bread and butter, guys, and a lot of whether it's professional athletes or professional bodybuilders or strongmen, or take it as it says, right? Number 2, always train to failure for your working sets. Always train to failure for your working sets, or don't train at all. Now, this might seem kind of harsh, and I'm not nitpicking here. I'm not I don't want to single people out, but here's the bottom line. Most people think I'm just some genetic freak, genetically gifted to, put on tons and tons of muscle mass. But here's the thing, guys. There's a lot more guys with better genetics than me, okay? Yes, God gave me good parents that, I have good genetics for getting strong and big. But to maximize my physique and to reach where I've wanted to go, I have always had to train hard. And the number 1 easiest key to doing this, at least in application, is always training to failure for your working sets. It is always better to train with higher intensity over higher volume. Yes, there's guys like Jay Cutler and many others that have built their physique around high volume, and there's nothing wrong with high volume training. There's nothing wrong, and I could do high volume training and still be big. But to be at your biggest, You have to train to failure. I think Ronnie Coleman and Dorian Yates proved that for us. And also, if you take your body and you say, okay, I'm going to train to failure, okay, train to failure until that body part's done, whatever, how many sets that is, I'm going to train to failure until that body part's done, versus I'm going to train high volume, you will notice that you're going to get both bigger and stronger from training that way. The only reason you wouldn't want to train that way is if you have, wear and tear in the joints is too much, you have some injury or something in your body that's hindering you, or number three, you just don't have the mentality for it. Not everybody can train Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates. And my argument would be, if Jay Cutler or these other bodybuilders who just train high volume, and Jay Cutler actually did train pretty heavy on and off throughout his career, but if some of these guys who trained high volume, trained high intensity first, then volume second, my argument, scientific argument would be that they would have gotten even better than they are. Again, Ronnie Coleman and Dorian Yates, I believe, proved this for us. Moving on. So always train to failure for your working sets. Don't even count warm-ups. We're not talking about warm-ups, working sets. Number three, take as much rest time as you need. Take as much rest time as you need between your working sets. There's a lot of guys that are confused about how weightlifting, how bodybuilding, if you're trying to get maximum muscle, get your type 2 fibers, your specifically type 2A and type 2B muscle fibers, which are the ones that are going to give you the biggest muscle mass yield, not the type 1 slow twitch, but type 2A, type 2B, but that falls in the camp of type 2 muscle fibers. If you're trying to get your type 2 muscle fibers as big as possible, you cannot be shortchanging yourself with rest time, okay? And I learned this early on with my own body. Take as much rest time as needed between your working sets. The only exception to this would be if you're doing high volume. If you're doing high volume and you're doing, a trillion sets, each body part, you're going to be in the gym for 6 hours unless you cut your rest time short. So here's the bottom line. For my training style, compound emphasis, always training to failure for working sets, and, for high intensity, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman training, you're going to be taking as much rest time as you need between your sets. Why? Again, to maximize type 2 muscle fibers, to maximize muscle mass, performance, and strength gains, you need to let those type 2 muscle fibers completely replenish and recharge between your sets. Otherwise, what? If you start your set too early where they're not completely replenished, right? What's going to happen? Your strength is going to be way, way down. You're going to have a bad set. So, moving on. For that reason alone, discussion ended. Moving on. Let's talk about rep range, guys. This is extremely important. Here we go. Rep range. Boom. Oh, I just did some biceps. Cramping a little bit. All right. Rep range. Here we go. Rep range for everything. Rep range for everything we're going to be doing is between 10 and 15 reps. Now, you might say, well, Seth, I've seen you do, 8 reps. I've seen you do, lower than 10 reps. True. Very true. And those of you that know me, I started off in powerlifting first, training for gains, and then I got into competitive powerlifting in high school, and then bodybuilding after, right? But, and I've still trained heavy on and off over the years in terms of training, to failure under 10 reps. Great. Yes, that's true. However, rep range for the real 10% body fat series and to maximize the human physique, to obtain the perfect physique that we're trying to do, rep range is going to be between 10 and 15 reps. Now, there's a reason for this. I have pretty much, arrived at the conclusion at the end of the road, so to speak, where the perfect rep range is, usually it's between, I'll throw out a number, 8 and 15 reps, 8 and 14, 15 reps. But the reason that we're not going to be going, and again, that's depending on what body part, but the reason that we're not going to be going less than 10 reps is also because as you get leaner, there's something that happens. As you get really lean, it becomes harder to squat with perfect form, bench with perfect form, and do a lot of these exercises because you just plain and simple, you don't have not only the fat and the same also water weight that you normally carry, but also your joints. It's a lot harder on your joints, tendons, ligaments, because let's take me squatting, for example. It is a lot harder to squat 500 pounds for my sets when I am 230, 220 versus 240, which I am now, okay? You lose a lot of, you lose your dynamics of the exercise completely change. And anybody who's been really big and then shredded down knows what I'm talking about. The dynamics of the exercise change, and also the big reason for the rep range to stick between 10 and 15 is because to be able to train to failure, completely to failure, but still not keep the injury risk down. Because the thing is, for me, guys, I've noticed, for myself, if I'm squatting, even right now, if I'm squatting less than 8 reps, it is really hard to keep my form tight, okay? So it's a lot easier to keep your form tight if you're in this range. And again, injury chances are going to be way up when you're cutting versus when you're bulking. But in terms of hypertrophy, here's the bottom line. Like I said, the best hypertrophy range, is 8 to 15 about, and rep range being 10 to 15. The reason I said I don't want to go any lower than 10 is it's pretty much just injury risk, okay? But this is the magic sauce rep range for dieting. If you're bulking, extend it to 8 to 15. And the reason that the range is a little bit bigger, I'll just say this, we'll move on. The reason the range is a little bit bigger is when you're bulking also is because there's some body parts. Let's take, what do I want to take? Let's take calves. Shoulders, think laterals, triceps. Doing 8 reps and failing on rep 8 or even rep 9, you can do it, but you'll notice when doing these, you just do not get the same, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't get the same, not pump, you don't get the same result, you don't get the same overall training to failure that you would where, you're failing on 8 or 9 on squat or on bench. It's a completely different dynamic. Why? Because if you fail, you're going to complete failure, let's say 8, 9 reps on bench or on squat, you have multiple muscle groups coming in and helping you along the way to achieve, really complete failure at 8 or 9 reps. Versus if you're doing just biceps or calves, the calves are going to be failing out and not being able to be pushed as far. So for that reason alone, it's better to get the reps up a little bit so that you can push them farther to, if I want to call it, absolute muscular failure. All right, enough of that. Moving on. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go throw this in. This training is low volume, extreme intensity, okay? Low volume, extreme intensity. And this is the way that I have been training pretty much the last whatever couple of years that I've been training hardcore. Obviously, I took some time off, but even before then, low volume, extreme intensity. And if we just look at medicine, look at the scientific world, if we look at the medical research and everything we have available now, the fastest way to elicit maximum muscle mass, maximum change is what? The fastest way, guys, to build muscle and to change the human body is what? Intensity of exercise. What's second? Volume. What's third? Time under tension. So it makes sense, as long as you're able, you don't have any injuries, as long as you're able and you're there mentally that you can do this. Again, Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates. Go for intensity number 1, and then volume second, time under tension third. So, we want to take the fastest horse. And what's the fastest horse in the race? It's intensity. So that's why extreme intensity, low volume. And why not medium volume, extreme intensity? Because I can't do medium volume if I'm putting out extreme intensity. After, 2 sets of squats to failure, I'm toast. I'm done. I can't. My legs are toast for the next 5 days. So stuff like this, all right? So moving on. All right, next rule. Take additional rest days as needed. Take additional rest as needed if you're beat, tired, or sore. There's a difference between being a little bit sore and being, extremely sore, just debilitatingly sore, okay? So you have to kind of figure this out for yourself. You know, if you're like, oh, I'm a little sore, but I feel like I can have a good train, go train. But if you're just like, you feel beat, you're really tired and worn down, take an extra rest day. You know, we're going to talk about my split in a second. We'll go through my splits in a second here. And there's 2 rest days in there, but remember guys, you grow, you build muscle mass, not when you're in the gym, you grow muscle mass when you're sleeping and when you're eating. So we'll get into that in a second, but take additional rest days if you're beat, tired, or sore. So as needed. Moving on, here we go. All right, so no cardio. Ooh, I like the sound of that. That's beautiful. That's like Beethoven in my ears. Oh, you guys probably love the sound of that. No cardio. Oh, how about that for a rule? Amazing. Ready for this one more time. No cardio, no cardio, no cardio, unless you have no access to a hot tub or sauna. Ooh. Now some of you guys your gears are turning. You don't understand quite why I'm saying this. I will get into this when we talk about, maybe I'll put this in training, but I was thinking I would include it when we get to, because we're going nutrition, training, hormones, lifestyle, right? I was thinking I was going to include this in lifestyle, but I might as well include it in training also. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about this in depth, but let me at least leave you with this so you know somewhat what I'm talking about. So no cardio unless there's no access to a hot tub or sauna. In medical studies, using hot tub or sauna, basically what it does is it's the exact same, pretty much the exact same as cardio for your heart. I'll talk about that. I'll pull up the studies for you later on, but if you go in the sauna for any extended length of time, or you go in the hot tub for any extended length of time, you get the same heart benefits as if you're doing cardio. The only difference is that obviously there is no exertion with your muscles. Well, this is a benefit for us because this is going to give us the good cardiovascular health and also at the same time not having to waste resources on doing type 1 muscle fiber work when we could be putting that extra energy into weight training. Now, you might say, well, I want to do cardio to lose fat. You can do cardio, you can do your cardio, but not on the same day you're training weights. That's just, if you want to get maximum, not high, not medium, if you want to get maximum muscle mass, you need to not do cardio on the same days you're weight training. That could be a rule too, but if we talk about, so the rule, no cardio unless you have no access to hot tub or sauna. I'm going to be talking about hot tubbing before and after your workouts. Oh, and if you don't have access to a hot tub, sauna is the next best. And if you don't have access to a hot tub or sauna, then go find a different gym, honestly, because the benefits are insane. So hot tub and sauna, hot tubs and sauna both shoot your human growth hormone. Hot tubs and sauna both shoot your HGH levels through the absolute roof. So that is amazing to do pre and post workout. We'll talk about that in a later video. So, hot tub and saunas increases HGH levels, opens up the arteries to allow more arteries and veins and blood vessels to allow more blood, gives you a pump. And then you imagine you go train after that, the benefits. And also if we talk about, so hot tub saunas, increase HGH, human growth hormone, by a lot. And also hot tubs and saunas, dilate your blood vessels. They open up all your blood vessels, gets all the lactic acid, the toxins out, but also is going to increase performance just because it's opening up your blood vessels. And that's one reason, if you look at, guys, take the studies, take the medical studies with Viagra, for example. I don't want to stay on this, but I got to talk about this real quick. If you take the medical studies done on Viagra, they took people who were cycling, okay, so bikes. All right. They took people who were in a cycling class, okay, biking. You have bikes, one group, placebo, next group, biking with Viagra. The people who were cycling with Viagra were able to significantly way outperform the other group that had no Viagra. Why? Because Viagra does the same thing. It opens up the blood vessels to allow more blood flow, more nutrients, more oxygen, more endurance. You're able to train harder, faster, longer, more endurance. And also this is the same with weight training as long as it is high intensity, okay? Oh, man, I didn't want to talk about all of that, but I had to give you guys some information on this. So we'll talk about the extreme, huge benefits. I'm going to call it just flat out cheating. And this is the big secret I'm going to get into with training. with a hot tub and sauna. I personally prefer the hot tub all day, every day, even if it's harder to use, just because water transfers heat better than air. It's going to get deeper. So, all right. So anyways, moving on. We're almost done. Stay with me. All right. This training style maximizes testosterone and HGH, human growth hormone release. So maximum testosterone and HGH release. Why? How much testosterone and HGH are going to release is directly dependent on how hard you work out. All right, that's the bottom line. If you can train to failure, the higher the intensity, you're going to release way more HGH. And for me, somebody who's using 250 milligrams testosterone cypionate per week through my clinic, I'm only going to get a small bump in testosterone just because the negative feedback loop, my testosterone shut down. But for me, who's using HGH peptides, ipamorelin, CJC, DAC, this is going to be a huge improvement. Why? Because my pulses are going to be getting way, way bigger. Training to failure, especially taking my HGH peptides. You guys guessed it, pre-workout. All right, moving on. Sleep. Let me just touch on this, and we're moving on into the split real quick, and then we're done. This video is finally over. All right. Boom. Let's get it. So, sleep. We're going to talk about this with lifestyle, but one thing I got to note, guys, is that all of these things, boom, 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 and my split that I'm about to give you, my personal split, boom, 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 this is not going to work. It's not able to work, and you're not going to be able to train. You're not going to be able to do this training, this training method, the Real 10% Body Fat Series Training Unleashed, the Spartan training method, whatever you want to call it. You're not going to be able to do all of this stuff, including the split, unless your sleep is perfect. Why? Because you're going to be toast. All right, so your sleep has to be in key. You got to be getting your 8 hours every night, and if you can get 9, that is the best. All right, 8 hours at night, nap during the day, whatever. But at minimum 8 hours. So you got to make that happen. Just because sleep is, if you don't sleep good, I slept okay last night, but in order to train at maximum intensity, we'll talk about melatonin too when we get to hormones. Yes, I rant all the time how in America melatonin is labeled as a dietary supplement, even though it is literally a hormone that's secreted by your pineal gland. But what can I say? The FDA knows best, right? So we'll talk about that too. But sleep has to be perfect if you want to maximize the human body and obtain the perfect physique, like we're going to be doing with the 10% Body Fat series that we're doing right now. So, guys, thank you for sticking with me through these rules. I'm going to finish up real quick with what my split is, and then we're out of here, all right? So, the split. Here is the split that you guys are all waiting for. The Seth Spartan Unleashed training split to obtain the perfect human physique, all right? Here we go.